can't move, he can't talk. But what he does have is a view of the mountains that gives him a lot of enjoyment. But now a church is going up next door and it will block his view, breaking a promise the family says the church made. News 13's Tina Jensen has the story.
So many things Jim can't do anymore that he used to do. And this seems like such a small thing.
Life changed for high school English teacher Jim Mura after a freak swimming accident in the ocean left him with a traumatic brain injury. For years, the couple made plans for a home in Rio Rancho they could spend the rest of their lives in. Wheelchair accessible, and for Jim, a view of the Sandias.
Was that a big reason that you liked this property? Yeah, it's a good view.
When they learned a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall would be built next door, they say they had a handshake agreement. The church wouldn't block Jim's window to the outside world. But when concrete was finally poured a few weeks ago, it was a different story. The building would be centered in front of the window.
They just have so much land there and so many other placement options that I find it completely difficult to believe that they couldn't have figured out a configuration to give them the parking spaces and whatever square footage of their building.
We reached out to an elder with the church who's also in charge of the construction. He didn't want to talk to us. The family says they've only been given one reason for the change of plans.
If they move the building, they would lose 3 parking spots.
The family went to City Hall, who told them the same thing that they told us, that unless the builders are breaking codes, there's not much they can do.
With foundation already poured, the family still hopes the Jehovah's Witnesses will have a change of heart.
It's a quality of life issue.
Tina Jensen, KRQE News 13.
The family says they requested blueprints from the Jehovah's Witness Church and from the city, but neither would release them. We asked the city of Rio Rancho why the blueprints, which are public documents, weren't released. They said they would have to investigate that claim.
Jesus, as the light of the world, did both. He let his light shine by means of preaching, but he also did so by means of doing fine works, doing good to others. Like Jesus, we let the light shine also by our Christian conduct. Jesus kept perfect balance. We too need to balance our preaching with doing good to others and displaying Christian conduct. Jehovah's Witnesses everywhere are known for their honesty. They imitate the Apostle Paul, who said at Hebrews 13:18, "We trust we have an honest conscience as we wish to conduct ourselves honestly in all things."
So you're the head pastor of the...
No, there's no...
Or what is a Kobe then?
Well, that's the coordinator, but he just kind of...
You.
Yeah, but he just kind of...
And are you a Kobe for a particular Kingdom Hall, or like all the Kingdom Halls?
No, just that congregation.
What's the name of that one again?
Ridgecrest.
That's the Ridgecrest one.
Yeah.
Right there at Springwell and Unser? Is that right?
But there's 4 congregations there, so there's 4 Kobe's.
Oh, okay. So you guys take turns like leading?
No, it's for the congregation until I quit or move or whatever. But it's just it's more of a function just to make sure the meetings are there and people go out and service and stuff like that. It's not really there's not anybody that's really the only one in charge of the congregation is Jesus.
How does the Jehovah's Witness organization teach its congregation or its members on how to treat other people? How to treat your neighbor, so to speak? Do they?
I'll just show you. Here's a letter from our headquarters. See, it's the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's a Christian organization.
Do they go by the Christian teaching then about like do unto others as you do to them? You guys treat that, or you guys?
Yeah.
That's you guys teach how would, if I became a Jehovah's Witness, how would I be instructed to teach other people or to treat other people?
Well, it's the 2 greatest commandments. You love Jehovah. Right. And the second commandment is what?
To do unto others.
Yeah. love your neighbor as yourself.
And that's so you believe that to treat your neighbor, you take into consideration, or to look to look out for their needs and stuff. You take care of your neighbors.
Right. So in fact, on our broadcasting station, they just had a talk about Matthew chapter 5 verse 15. It says, "Let your light shine."
Right.
So they said, "How do you let your light shine?" Well, we do the preaching work, but then the other way we show our light is to have good conduct. Now, who do we have good conduct toward? Our family, like our wife, our children, and then other members of the congregation. But what about the neighbor across, right next to you?
Right.
Maybe he experienced the death in the family. You go comfort him. Maybe he's out of a job. Why not invite him for a meal?
What if he has like special needs or something?
Yeah, maybe like a couple of years ago, the neighbor, all of a sudden I saw him in the yard, door down, and all of a sudden he sat down. So I went over there. I said, "You okay?" And his wife comes out and he says, I think there's something wrong with him. So I helped her call the paramedics for her.
You helped your neighbor.
Yeah, you help your neighbor.
So if your neighbor had a special need or something, you would definitely do what you could to help.
Oh yeah, and I'll just, I was going to work 2 months ago. I turned on Golf Course Road, and this woman goes off on the road, and she's got a flat tire. And I could see she's just looking at it, and she's kind of like, "What am I going to do?" I changed her tire for her.
Good job.
I don't know who she was.
Yeah.
I don't even know her name this day. So, it's just treating people like you want to be treated.
Exactly.
So that's why we preach the good news to people, because we want to live forever. We want our neighbors to live forever. So you have to tell them about it, don't you?
Correct. Now, I'm glad that we brought this conversation up, and you said what you said, that if your neighbor had a special need or something to take into consideration, that you would go above and beyond to help, right? That you would look out for your neighbor. All right. I was looking for Kingdom Hall the other day, and I came across a really strange story. I'm glad that you brought this up, because I don't know if you're aware of this. Here you go. That is your neighbor.
Oh yeah, I know.
Right. And when Jim built that house, he had it built in a specific way, with a panoramic window in his dining room kitchen, to have a view of the Sandia Mountains. As you know, Jim's condition, he's wheelchair bound, he's paralyzed, and he's bound until he's trapped inside his home. Well, Jim's only comfort and connection with the outside world and our God, our Creator, was his view that he was able to enjoy with his family at his dining room table through that window. Now, I was under the understanding that you guys take your neighbors' needs into consideration, and they were told that this building would not be planted right in front of that Sandia viewing face of the house.
Who told them that?
Well, I saw the news report. I can play the news report if you'd like. That not you specifically, I don't think, but the elders of the church, mainly the builder himself, or the contractor guy. I can't remember his name. I could pull up the Eyewitness News Channel 4 report. Handshake agreement with your neighbor that you would take all his considerations into need to put this building anywhere else on this lot right here, except this spot.
Okay.
And the reason that was given, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, was because they needed 3 parking spots. The land configuration and for city code, whatever, because you need 3 more parking spots. Now, that's all said and done with this aerial photograph, you can see that there's a ton of other configurations to accommodate 3 other parking spots. So my question to you, who just told me that you take your neighbor's needs into consideration, purpose for building that house right there, like that.
Well, you also have to be reasonable. So Jesus said, love your neighbor, but there's a reasonableness to it also.
With conditions?
So, okay. So, the city of Rio Rancho said, build it there.
Okay, now, the people that are building it, that own the lot and have this whole lot to build on, had already spoken with their neighbors, taking their needs into consideration. Handshake agreement that you wouldn't block their view. Now, looking at the aerial photograph, you're telling me that they forced you? The city of Rio Rancho said, no, you guys have to build it right there. Not right here. The building couldn't be put like that. It couldn't be faced this way. It couldn't be put over here or any other way to block it. No, you have to build it this way. Now, who told you that? I would like to know.
Well, if the city would have told us to move it anywhere else, you know, we would have done it. Number one, we bought this property 2-3 years before this guy did.
Right, I understand that.
Okay. Number two, the guy that built
Who built their house first, though? Who developed their lot first? Whose the building was there first?
That one.
Why couldn't this be right here like that, Tim? And I'm not no professional contractor or builder, but I see if I were to put this building here, not only would you have the 3 spots, you'd possibly even have any more parking spots.
Actually, the building was supposed to be...
And when I went over there, there's a shed there right now.
Yeah.
There's no parking spots there. You have a tough shed or something there, taking up 3 parking spots.
Okay, number one, when we did the plans, the building was actually a little bit further this way, over this way. And the city said, can you move it down a little bit further this way?
Right, yeah.
The city said fine. Okay? Number one.
And you couldn't come back a little bit further where you have that tough shed?
With the infrastructure to move the building from here to here was $25,000.
You mean before or after you poured the concrete?
Before. Before we...
Why would it cost more more money to plant here versus right here? I mean, I'm not a genius, and you can look at this as well as I can, that it's just moving it another 100 feet this way. The city had already told you to move it back this way. And so tell me, what good reason did you have to put it right in front of Jim's window?
It would have cost us $25,000 that we didn't have. Okay?
That makes no sense to me. How could it cost $25,000 more to move it from where it is, Jim, to right there?
Because there had to be...
I mean, it may cost you $25,000 to move it now that it's built, but before you even laid the concrete and put the stakes and the pour, you can't tell me, Jim, I'm not dumb.
No, you know, there's fire suppression equipment that requires specific water feeds and other things. And we were told it would cost us $25,000 to move the building from there all the way to here.
So now that $25,000 right there, would that be worth following in Jesus' shoes and taking your neighbor, treating your neighbor how you want to be treated?
Okay, the neighbor asked us, would they split it with us? They said no.
Split what?
If it's going to cost us $25,000,
right?
Mr. or Mrs. Neighbor, would you like to?
So you're asking them to pay $25,000 to build your building?
No, we were saying.
Please help us build our building to protect your view. You're serious? Now, was that something Jesus would do? Do you see our loving Savior doing that to Jim?
No.
No, of course not. Neither do I.
No, here's the point. You can argue with me all day long there. But they built it there, we built it here, the city said it's okay.
Of course, you could build it anywhere you wanted on that lot. It was your right. That's your land.
No,
Absolutely
no.
Correct.
The city did not say build it over here or build it over here.
They
told us when we gave the plot to them, they said build it here. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If the city says build it here and you build it over here, what are they going to do to you?
That's your property.
No,
that's
no,
private.
no,
that's
no,
your
no,
guys'
no, no.
land.
You cannot put it exactly where you want it unless the city says it's okay.
Right, and I'm having a hard time understanding the city's theory on, I mean, after looking at the aerial photograph, it's very obvious, Tim. I mean, you're a smart guy, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can have a tough shed there, taking up these extra 3 Sparky's parking spots as the news report reported on. That was the reason why they had to move it here. And then versus putting it there. Now, it doesn't take a Einstein to look at this picture and go, somebody did this intentionally. That this was placed there intentionally, and I couldn't figure that out. I did a lot of research. I was like, why would they do that? Intentionally, well, I mean, looking at the aerial photograph and seeing all the other building arrangements and options that you have here, you know, just, I mean, come on, look at, I mean, that's not, it's easy, right? Well, why would they do this? Now, unbeknownst to me, or you, Tim, I doubt you know this.
The city
I doubt you know this. This isn't the first time Kingdom Halls have done this. I've been doing a lot of research and trying to figure out why. You know, getting the city planned, you know, I told you we're filming a documentary on this piece, and we're digging. Come to find out that this isn't the first time Kingdom Halls have done this to their neighbors. Why would you do that, they'd ask. Well, come to find out, your governing body, the main guys, the people that you follow, that you trust your salvation with, are real estate mongols. Not only do they own multiple properties that they're just sold in New York, you've heard about all these Brooklyn properties, Marriott hotels, and there's another, the guy that I met said they did the same thing to me, and they came in, they did it on purpose to devalue the property, which happened. The tax, hold on a second, Tim, stay with me.
No.
The taxes have been devalued on their property taxes have been lowered. You know this. Now hold on, I'm not done. I got some more stuff. I got some good stuff to tell you that you're gonna want to hear. Believe me.
No, I don't want to hear
it. The Jim and the Moras. Well, you know what happened? You devalued their property. The property taxes have been lowered. The county assessors come in and lowered their property taxes. You know this.
Okay, number one.
Listen.
Okay, when they bought their property,
the Jehovah's Witnesses will come in and buy this property. Hold on a second, Jim. Wait. Before you leave, I want you to show you something else.
No,
this is what we're getting ready to do. This is what we're getting ready to do. See this right here? This is also Jim's salon. This is also Jim's. That's where the building should have went. Right there. Everybody really happy, but you know what we're doing now? The guy who built this home, right, I've befriended, and guess what we're getting ready to do? We've already looked into this, city codes, we're getting building permits. I don't know if you've seen these going up around the your church just got hit with a huge sexual scandal. I don't know if you've been watching the Royal Commissions or not.
Oh, give us a break.
These billboards we're putting this, don't touch me.
No, don't let me go home.
This billboard, we're going to put this billboard right here, Jim. All right?
Do not.
The Jim Moores want an offer on their property, a fair offer. All right? They want to move. I went to go film for the balloon field. Unfortunately, can't even come outside because of the weather, the cold. He can't even see the balloons that he's stuck inside that hole. They had to redo the whole inside of their house. You don't understand how much you've done to this man. All right, Jim? He's paralyzed. That was his only connection to the outside world. No.
This is yours?
Uh-huh.
Do you also have slide? That's slide.
That's yes. See, they have this room.
Just do it. Those rascals.
Just let it go as it goes, or? Yeah.
I was just handed this aerial photo of Jim and Janet's house. Directly to the east is the Kingdom Hall. You can see on the west side of the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall is a very small parking lot. On the on the north side is a very small parking lot. On the south side is an extremely extensive parking lot with what looks to me like a shed or some kind of storage. I've not seen this photo before, and I'm very struck by the fact that if the Jehovah's Witnesses had simply traded parking lots, put the south one where the north is, the north one where the south is, and then accordingly moved the Kingdom Hall, why Jim and Janet's view would have been completely preserved. There would have been an amicable neighbor-to-neighbor type of agreement. I see absolutely no earthly reason why Rio Rancho's planning and zoning strictures of you need X amount of square footage in your parking lot could have still been fulfilled and everyone would have been happy. Why they did not do so is beyond my understanding, especially as I look for the first time at this aerial view that lays it out in all the stark evidence that it's eminently doable, was eminently doable. Shortly after we powered the foundations for Jim and Janet's house, we noticed that the Jehovah's Witnesses were indeed planning to build their house. They had dug trenches either for the foundations of their Kingdom Hall or for the water lines to that place. We approached them and mentioned that this is a dream retirement home for a couple that have lived their lives. They've had hardships and they just want to retire. We had designed the house so that Jim, in a wheelchair, could get up to see the mountains, could make breakfast to see the mountains, could use the specially designed alcove that we were building to see the mountains. We noted that if the Jehovah's Witnesses built the Kingdom Hall where they claimed they needed to, why, in essence, Jim's view would be gone. We approached them saying, or noting, sorry about this, we approached them noting that it would be quite easy to move the building over. We suggested, I believe, 40 feet. We noted that if their back parking lot, which was quite extensive, was simply moved around to the front, the Jehovah's Witness Hall was moved to accommodate that larger parking lot. They would have their parking spaces, Jim would have his view. It seemed to me at the time to be an absolute no-brainer, and in fact, one of the elders, by the name of Trevor, I believe, seemed to be extremely amenable to it, gave us the strong impression that they would indeed accommodate Jim's needs. I recommended to Janet that she even approach the Jehovah's Witnesses and tell them that she would be willing to pay for some of the costs of moving that. I called Rio Rancho Planning and Zoning Department to ascertain more or less how much per linear foot it would be to move some of the water lines and I believe sewage lines that had been laid at the time. And if I remember correctly, we came up with around $3,000, some relatively minimal amount that it would cost in order to simply move this Kingdom Hall, as their elder had said they would be happy to do. And Janet, as I said, made it clear that she would be willing to pay those costs. So I continued and finished the construction of Jim and Janet's house, thinking this was a done deal. Their neighbors, Jehovah's Witnesses, Christians, were going to indeed comply with a very simple request. Could we please have someone who just wants to retire and watch sunrises over the Sandia Mountains do that? I can't tell you how upset and perplexed I was when 2 or 3 years later Janet called me to announce that none of that had happened. The Kingdom Hall was being built right where we had built Jim's alcove, blocking the view, in defiance of all the other logic and offers and supposed goodwill that we had heard the Jehovah's Witnesses were going to afford to Jim and Janet.
Okay, so the city of Rio Rancho said build it there.
Building inspections can help you?
Yes,
I just have a quick question, and I'm not sure if I have the right department or not, but I just have a question about if someone is wanting to put a building on a piece of property, could the city say, no, you can't put it there, you have to put it there, even though they know it may block someone's view? Would the city ever do that?
No, the only thing the city enforces is the setbacks.
The setbacks.
The distance of how far away from the property line the building has to go.
Yeah. So like if somebody was going to build a church and the neighbor asked them not to block their view, and they said, the city said we have to put it right here, then
we don't tell people where to put them. We tell them where they can't put them.
Okay. So like the reason I'm asking is because they built a Kingdom Hall there in Rio Rancho, and they are telling their members or congregation that the city told them they had to put it right there and block the neighbor's view just so they could have 3 more parking spaces. And I can't imagine the city telling them something like that.
No, because we have a setbacks in place, and they have to observe those setbacks. But anywhere inside of that setback, we don't get involved in as to where they put it.
Yeah, a specific number of parking spaces a church would have to have then, would you?
I think there is, yes. That would be through the zoning department.
Through the zoning department. But I mean, like, they could change the landscaping at the other end of the property to have...
They are required a certain amount of landscaping also in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah. So, like, if they put a tough shed in the place of those 3 parking spaces, then, you know, is that something that the city would frown upon?
Well, they'd need to get permits for the shed, and if it took up parking that they were required to have, they probably wouldn't approve the shed.
Okay. All right. Well, you've been very helpful. I appreciate your answers very much.
Okay. And I think the parking is based on the occupancy load.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, it seems like there's plenty of parking. You know, it's the new Kingdom Hall they built up there. I forget which road it's off of. It's the one that's been in the news lately and the big controversy, you know, because they said they weren't going to not block the Mura family's view. It's a brain-injured man, and that's all he asked. And they could have moved that Kingdom Hall at least 30 feet over, and he would still have his view. But they are trying to claim that the city said they had to put it right there.
No, the city doesn't get involved in views.
Okay. All right, great. You've been very helpful. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And so tell me, what good reason did you have to put it right in front of Jim's window?
It would have cost us $25,000 that we didn't have. Okay?
That makes no sense to me. How can it cost $25,000 more to move it from where it is, Jim, to right there?
Because there had to be...
I mean, it may cost you $25,000 to move it now that it's built, but before you even laid the concrete and put the stakes and the port, you can't tell me, Jim, I'm not dumb.
No, you know, there's fire suppression equipment that requires specific water feeds and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told it would cost us $25,000 to move the building from there all the way to here.
So now that $25,000 right there, would that be worth following in Jesus' shoes and treating your neighbor how you want to be treated?
Okay, the neighbor asked us, would they split it with us. They said no.
I recommended to Janet that she even approach the Jehovah's Witnesses and tell them that she would be willing to pay for some of the costs of moving that. I called Rio Rancho Planning and Zoning Department to ascertain more or less how much per linear foot it would be to move some of the water lines and I believe sewage lines that had been laid at the time. And if I remember correctly, we came up with around $3,000, some relatively minimal amount that it would cost in order to simply move this Kingdom Hall as the elder had said they would be happy to do.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what you found out, price-wise, to move the building a little bit more this way?
Well, I checked with our contractor, and Cadman said it was probably about $12 a foot, a linear foot. And he figured maybe 10 to 20 feet. So, you know, if you multiply that, it doesn't come up to 25,000 by any stretch.
1,500, 2,000 at the most, I guess, right?
Just got hit with a huge sexual scandal. I don't know if you've been watching the Royal Commissions or not.
Oh, give us a break.
These billboards are going to putting this. Don't touch me.
No, don't let me go home.
This billboard, we're going to put this billboard right here, Jim. All right?
Do not.
The Jim Warren want an offer on their property, a fair offer.
Oh,
all right? They will
dear.
I went to go film for the blue.
What do you think, babe? You think it's bad, huh?
Did that guy tell the truth at all?
No.
Total thumbs down. Caesar gives him a thumbs down. Off with his head. Now, what can you tell me about, after watching that, can you just give me your overview thoughts about that? About what you heard him say from loving thy neighbor to wanting $25,000, to split a $25,000 cost versus what you found out. What is your take on the whole situation?
I think they've rewritten the history of what the situation was. And I don't ever remember seeing this gentleman around the construction site. There were several elders. Again, Elder Trevor is the one that we spoke with most often because he was the contractor. And so either he was never in the loop or he just is rewriting what happened.
Well, he seemed to have some knowledge about the whole thing. As soon as he saw the picture, he knew exactly where it was. He said, "Oh yes,
Mr. and Mrs. Neighbor."
And looked like he swallowed a frog at that point. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you found out, price-wise, to move the building a little bit more this way?
Well, I checked with our contractor, and Cadman said it was probably about $12 a foot, a linear foot. And he figured maybe 10 to 20 feet. So, you know, if you multiply that, it doesn't come up to 25,000 by any stretch.
1,500, 2,000 at the most, I guess, right?
Oh.
If we're doing $12 a foot times 10 to 1,200, so. All right. So, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to tell me after watching his expression and his thoughts on the whole treat your neighbor as yourself? Is there anything that
I don't think he cares. I don't really think he cares. And, you know, he was very nonchalant.
Didn't care, did he?
No, he didn't seem to care. I mean, he doesn't even remember our names.
Right.
And they were supposed to have prayed for us in church, right?
Is that what they told you?
Oh, yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
There was a gentleman by the name of Paul Taylor to watch the property. And he came over one day and he was speaking with us, and he said that they had taken a vote in the congregation on Sunday morning to help us as much as possible. And he said, "Don't worry, the elders will take care of you. There will be no problems at all."
And once the documentary piece on the construction of this building, it's nothing against Jehovah's Witnesses in particular. I just want to let you know that. And I also know that there's two sides to every story. And so I wanted to give you a chance, if you're willing, if you'd like, to let your side of the story be known.
Well, I'm not the one qualified to give you that side of the story. You know, I don't have as much knowledge.
Sure. Would you like to give an opinion? At least just voice an opinion? Is there anything that you know about the construction of this building that you could share? Because it looks really bad from one side of the story, you know what I mean? And I'm not here just to film one side. I'm here to get the story on both sides. You know, so I want to give you guys a fair opportunity to explain what happened to Jim. You know, there's got to be a good explanation for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, somebody else can handle that.
Sure. Would you happen to have their name or number? I can
No,
give them a
not
call.
at this time.
Can you take down my name and number if they would like to voice? Because
no, not particularly.
You know, if any considerations were taken, any precautions were put in place to try to preserve Jim's view?
Oh, yes, I do, but you know, I'm not the one qualified to speak with
you do know if they did try to save the view, though?
Oh, yeah.
Right. What was done to try to accommodate
moving the structure so that you could have a little bit more view.
You mean
but then
moving it back into this place where the tough shed is right there? You know, just a little bit, 20, where that window is just, you know, 20 foot back more, and I don't understand.
Because right now it's blocked the entire length of their house.
Yeah.
I don't what they did take
but, you know, this property
that,
was here before they bought too. And
right,
they
but
would have to have known that
as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, that lot was developed first, and when you guys did come in to develop, you guys had a bare lot here, and you knew what to work around, right? I mean, am I wrong?
Well, you know, the logistics, I had nothing to do with that. So.
Right. What is your name, sir?
Yeah, you know, I'd just rather keep this.
He's not going to give you his name.
No worries. Well, you are a member of this congregation? Yes. Okay. No, that's fine. Hi, my name is Tyler Cobb. How you doing? I've been hired by an independent filmmaker.
Yeah, I don't want you to go outside.
All right.
Any comment will come from the society. You're welcome to.
Yeah, you have to get in touch with the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Sure.
And ask for the legal department.
Can I tell you a little bit about what I'm doing?
No, right now we're expecting visitors, so we really don't have time for this. So
sure.
go ahead and go ahead and exit the property and get in touch with the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Sure. What exactly will I be asking them?
Just ask for the legal department.
No. What should I ask them?
Whatever you want.
If I wanted to ask them questions about blocking your neighbor's view, what angle should
Goodbye.
What would I? Hey, no. This is a public place, am I correct?
Goodbye.
My foot's there.
Just go ahead.
I know how that works.
Right. I'm trying to. You told me to call the.
Just go ahead and call them, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and ask for the legal department.
Sure.
And ask them whatever questions you want.
Okay. Are you available for any questions?
No. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Call the Watchtower Bible.
Do the Jehovah Witnesses practice Romans 13:9 to treat your neighbor like yourself? Do you personally treat your neighbor as yourself?
We live according to what the Bible wants.
So Romans 13:9 does say treat your neighbor as yourself. So you do treat your neighbor as yourself?
Right now, you're interrupting a meeting that I had with this gentleman.
I apologize.
Call the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and ask them all the questions they want.
Will do. How do you feel about the building blocking
right
Jim's
now
view?
you're interrupting one of my sessions, please.
Sure. If you built this building, would you have moved it back a little bit further if you personally would have made it?
Called Watchtower.
I'm assuming no, since you don't want to answer these questions and you're referring me to somebody else giving me the runaround. I'm assuming no, that you like having that view with the building with no windows to enjoy it. Is that correct?
Call the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
And I guess so. Another yes. Thank you, sir.
You have a nice day.
You too.